Welcome to episode 3 of this Doctor Who story that we're trying to mine for positives. Apologies about the sound quality. I did record it on a proper mic and then I think forgot to press save. So you've got the backup. It's still fine. It's just a little bit echoey. Still, at least I haven't put you in a tank full of water next to some electrical cables. Enjoy. Thanks so much for listening to this Happy Times and Places with me, Toby Hadoke, trying to be positive inside a chalk circle.
Hello Toby, hello everyone. I'm Jon Tuner and I am an artist and illustrator based in Manchester. The story that I've chosen for you this week is one that's very dear to my heart. It is Battlefield.
Well, it's the first cosplayed episode of Happy Times and Places. It's Battlefield episode 3. Press play now. Well, look, I realised, sorry for those of you who are just listening, not watching, you can see this on the video at no extra cost. I realised I'd got the Brigadier's cardigan when I was watching episode 1, so I've decided I've never done cosplay in my life, not my thing. I mean, I've got the hat and scarf, had the hat and scarf, but that's not quite the same. I never went for the whole thing and tried to get the right waistcoat or trousers or anything, like the silhouette. But I've decided, because it is within my means, I've got a solo moustache, and I've got the Brigadier's, an approximation of the Brigadier's gardening outfit. I don't know if he gardens in a cravat. Gotta love that. So this is a very special episode, Battlefield episode 3 in cosplay. It's funny, I was reading something about a Doctor Who fan with a big collection on a newspaper website, and the comments underneath, somebody going, "Oh, virgin," so unkind. And but I've never got cosplay. It's not my thing. I've quite enjoyed today. I've been experimental with facial hair in lockdown anyway. I had a handlebar moustache in an attempt to see what I'd look like if I was a, season 3 guest star in Prison Break or something, or somebody who would kidnap Jack Bauer about 3/4 of the way into a season of 24 with a handlebar moustache. But I've quite enjoyed it, and it's funny why we would mock, because as I said, I've never quite got cosplay, but I think it's marvellous that it's anything that shows application, dedication, creativity, anything that Doctor Who does that spawns that, I think is to be applauded. Anything that stops us being passive viewers. With me, it's finding out about actors and things like that, and what went on behind the scenes. Other people, it's creative expression through, and honing a skill. Creating the costumes, making them, sourcing them. It's great. Anything that isn't passive, yet people mock it, don't they? And I think it's fear. People have a fear of people expressing creativity, because I think deep down we'd all like to, but we worry about the embarrassment. I love this bit. I love Julia, and of course you could see the cracks in. Slightly slowed down, this, isn't it? But it's all right. It's a great image. Sophie Aldred is so game. She's always jumping in water, and when she does things with explosions, throws herself about. I don't think we could have wished for a more dedicated performer. And again, when you're doing something that often relies on the actors, to have somebody that's prepared to do anything is great. But you could see the crack in the glass, couldn't you? And that was actually footage of her being rescued that they used in the footage of the actual episode. I like the way that Marcus Gilbert does this. Yeah, you're doing exactly what is required of you, you handsome devil. And tape, I don't like that tape for him, just because it's a pretty grotesque image. Sylvester McCoy also throws himself about and is again another very, very committed performer. And what a face. He looks like Doctor Who, doesn't he? He's got... It's that brilliant synthesis of the sort of the clown-like physiognomy, but also a sort of bird-like sadness, a melancholy. Although he's the most clownish of all the Doctors, he's also at times the saddest looking, and it's a great combination. And here they are, the Brigadier and the Doctor. Who I am cosplay. I've even. I wish he pronounced Lethbridge. I don't know. I wish he pronounced the name right. He doesn't quite mispronounce it. He just doesn't do it very well. This is great. June Bland does a very good job here. June Bland, by the way, is her grandson, Jordan Brooks, who's a fantastic comedian. Very interesting, very offbeat, plays with the rules, very funny. Is currently the longest holder of the Edinburgh Comedy Award, because there hasn't been an Edinburgh Festival this year. It's awarded every year. You don't hold it, as it were. You just get it every year. But because there hasn't been an Edinburgh Fringe this year, he's the current holder for 2 years running, which has never happened before. So it runs in the family, and he's definitely worth checking out. Jordan Brooks, fine comic. Seek out those who hold Excalibur, and then go and direct an episode of The Boys and all the other American shows that you do, you clever knight commander. He didn't, by the way, direct the episode of The Boys that I watched after episode 2. Yes, that's it, guys. March, but in a way that's just there's a camera there. Doesn't matter. I think that's fine. That doesn't look like bitter. It's the right colour, not enough head. I like these two characters. They bring a welcome sort of realism. Pat and his wife, and I like his joke. Yeah, you ugly git. So Mordred's drunk and laughing at his own joke. Oh, Lavelle, who, of course, I hadn't realised is French, but director was Serbian, I think. And I remember when I interviewed her, she said, "Of course, I put on the French accent." And I said, well, "Did you? Oh, okay." It never occurred to me that Lavelle was French, but of course she is. But I think the accent just goes under standard foreign, doesn't it? Which was allowable in those days. Nowadays, you'd get a French actor. Interesting. Probably. Our casting of international actors has become a lot easier as actors travel. Doctor Who's had Americans in it, and now if we need, although she ended up being based in Australia, Dorota Ray. I'm sad about Lavelle, but this is very clever, complex stuff because they need the information. So she's a soldier, she's expendable, and they sort of get it in a painless way. But they also, and she does that good joke about you can get the tab if you like, so it comes from her. But they also, and she treats her with sort of great dignity, which is rather touching. And of course the Rowlandsons are absolutely appalled because somebody's just been murdered in their pub. And so we have this rather sick joke that she says, he says you can't leave her like that because it's unpleasant and uncivilized. So she turns her into a hooverable package, and she gets the tab by returning her sight to her, which is very interesting. Because it shows a different sort of moral code. We've just seen this couple kill people, but then, deliver somebody her sight back. Although that's quite a complex issue that I'm not going to get into now. I say, oh yes, I'd like to, because the idea that somebody who's disabled considers that they are missing something because they don't have something that a non-disabled person would have, is quite a complex and grey area, as are most things with nuance, which is lost from a lot of today's discourse, which is why I'd like to actually rescind my statement from a previous episode where I said I'm not particularly woke. I think I am quite woke. I agree with all the things that woke people agree with. I'm the very embodiment of a weedy liberal. But I'm concerned. I worry about how the liberal cause is actually harmed by the conduct and lack of nuance of some of the most self-proclaimed of the woke brigade. So I will say I am woke, but I'm woke in a cardigan, shall we say? But I just hope everybody's happy, and I don't want to row. And also, I respect that other people have come to different conclusions from me about how to make the world better, and I don't necessarily think they're evil. That's quite old-fashioned these days. But I'm eating a naked bar, so it's a good sequence. Although it's quite tastefully done, because there's a bit of machine and gunning to death that goes on shortly. There's great, great blowing out the back of the back window. Now I've got to remember to write down so I don't pick something rubbish. I like the paying of the tab. I think that's very good. And even Lavelle, only in her one scene this week, did a really good job. But I can't really choose her, I don't think, because she was part of what Jon chose in an earlier episode. This is pretty grim, this bit, although it's sort of comedy banter. She does, when she sticks her head up through the roof, we don't see what's on the other end of her machine gun, but but I like Brigadier Bambera. She's a great character. And she plays it very well. And I do like her rapport with. And of course we can see the Doctor's leg sticking out the car window, which is terrific. Tell them they're in trouble. Yeah, so because Sylvester is so sort of good. I wish these guns were level. If you had time to do that again, you would. Not very well observed. This. Yeah, that's a bit like the bus in Delta and the Bannermen, where you don't quite get the impression of an explosion. And I don't really like the Brigadier's reaction here, but I suppose he is a soldier, and that's what we're supposed to think. But hello, Xiao Yung. I still don't know what you're, because Xiao Yung, of course, Ling Tai plays Xiao Yung, was an extra in Warriors of the Deep. She's one of the sea base crew. And again, we like the Rowlinson here, but then we get the impression that Pat going, you're not English, are you? You go, you're a nice friendly landlord, but actually you're probably a bit of a racist, which is again just a nice, because you can get very nice, polite people who turn out to have slightly dodgy attitudes. It's what Doctor. I mean, I'm not a great fan of the umbrella, but stopping the Major saluting by hooking it down is a lovely bit of Doctor business. It's a shame that Peter Walmsley is going to go now, because I expected James Ellis to at least last the 4 episodes, but his job is done, which is and then he worked with me shortly after this, which I'm sure was a great compensation for not making it to episode 4. And he was a lovely guy. Do you know, I remember there was a what can only be described as a media word beginning with W and rhyming with tanker, and Major Husak, nice bit of business there. Sadly, that actor Paul Tomani, who played Major Husak, was dead within about 5 years. I think he died 3 or 4 years after this, at the age of mid-30s, which is tragic. I know nothing more about how or why. But yeah, and anyway, there was some. There were few of them then. There are lots of them now. People who in them who carry about them a lot of confidence, which is in direct inverse ratio between how much use they are and likable and what they bring to the table. You encounter more of them these days, and I don't know what this guy was doing there. This besuited, sunglassed moron, and anyway, he'd annoyed everybody, I think, and when the cast all got together in the afternoon, I was struggling to get a ticket for my sister. And Jimmy basically went, I don't know why we're spending all our time, what we're having to do for this guy. He didn't say it when the guy was there. He said, and this young lad can't even get a ticket for his sister, so can we sort our priorities out? And he was basically, as the leading man, cutting through a lot of the crap and also sticking up for me, and in a slightly related but aspect of what the production's priorities were. Which he needn't have done, and he didn't do it in a bullish way either. But he just made sure it happened. Proper leading man. Good for him. Good for Jimmy. Nice fella. A real twinkle. Came round to our house and used the phrase "confirmed bachelor" about somebody with a twinkle in his eye, which I've always remembered. Very lovely. He was a confirmed bachelor. He said about this fellow. I can't remember the circumstances. Good sword fighting. I do like a sword fight. It's Alf Joint who did the fights, didn't he? Oh, there's a fly on top of her head there. Good old Ansel Lynn. You wish to run away. Yes, absolutely. Yes, I'm liking this. This. Art thou betrothed? I mean, Doctor Who was not popular at this time, so I always got annoyed with it when it did things I thought could turn off the general public, whoever they were. But it didn't feel like it was a show that was watched by the general public at the time. And indeed, of course, this is the last season. So I could never quite relax and take it on its own terms. I mean, I still think there are mistakes. I think the question marks all over the place. It's been said before about how you can't show how enigmatic you are by emphasizing your enigmatic nature. It's like you can't, eccentricity should be organic rather than grafted on or draw attention to itself. And this was that bit was on the trailer. Do I like that? I didn't like it as a kid. Do I like it now? I don't mind it. It's fine. I have no opinion. I love her crystal ball because she makes it fly away, doesn't she? At one point, which is very niftily and simply done. Yeah, she gonna sing it away now. But yeah, Shao Young doesn't do much apart from have someone for Ace to get nearly racist at when they're stuck in the circle. But again, in terms of representation, in 1989, I think this has laudable intent. And I know accusations are thrown around about, people being tokenistic or whatever. I think if you see somebody with a different skin colour from you as a token, then I think that's the reason that we need more faces and representation of colour on the screen, because if it's still seen as abnormal to you, then you're not. Then that's the issue that needs redressing. And I'd say the same about disability. In fact, more so. Representation of disability is terrifyingly bad. In the arts, actually, it has a lower representation than in most other workplaces, which is extraordinary, seeing as the arts are supposed to be so progressive. And it's interesting how often some of the most progressive people have an ironically blind spot when it comes to disability. They'll be furious about representation of ethnicity or in other areas, and not be so worried about disability. Anyway, that's just something because it's close to home for me. They're horrible to each other, these two, in their circle. It's very simple, isn't it? Very simple effect. It sort of comes out of nowhere, the fact that these two start rowing with each other, but it's doing a very good thing. It's showing that, you know, they're under psychological pressure and having games played with them, and of course being tried to, you know, if they go out of the circle, they're in trouble. So, you know, that hug is lovely, and the fact that they realise that there's a certain sort of manipulation going on, and they have to be kind to each other. Yes. I like, oh yes, a bit of an explosion like that. It's a shame it cuts when the guy's actually got back up again. That's but there is a guy who flies through the air, isn't there? I think bazookaing a guard because while he's fighting one of your own guys is a bit friendly fire there. Yeah, but that's a very decent battle scene, and all this smoke and Mordred. Oh yeah, these two look great. I thought Christopher Bones. I laughed enough, but they look great. These two, and you know, knights fighting in front of a crashed nuclear missile convoy is great stuff. Yeah. Oh, I like that bit where you hold the sword in front of your nose. Yeah, this is the Doctor. Will be. Yeah, well, he's given it his best shot. I was quite yelled and furious. The Destroyer. Oh, you've got to love the Destroyer. And I don't think we'd seen pictures of the Destroyer, so we didn't know what he was going to look like. I love all this dark lighting. It's great. This is really spooky. That's a great shot of Ace and Xiao Yung in the moonlight, and Morgaine over them. This is quite spooky. Witches are hard to do, aren't they? Because they become almost a sort of cliche. To the Destroyer. But she looks great. She's got a great face, Jean Marsh. And look at that's a great mask. And you know, the colour for monsters is now blue, not green. And all the better for it. I think it would have been so easy to make him a green dragon, and a blue dragon just makes him seem a little bit different. Right. What did I like best in that? I think it's going to be, I've written it down, I think it's, oh yeah, Brigadier. Oh, Peter Walmsley as well. There's an actor called Peter Walmsley in Mordred Undead who plays one of the two mutants. So I wonder if I wonder if there's a... Oh, Lavelle's not... She's really low on the credits. That's not fair. So I wonder if that's a coincidence, or whether he was a mate of John Nathan Turner or something. Because I don't think he was called Peter Walmsley in the original draft. I think he was called Warmington. Might be wrong. Anyway, I noticed the similarity. So, what's my friend John going to choose? Well, let's press pause and see if he has chosen. I'm choosing The Paying of the Tab. And that whole pub scene, the Lavelle, because I like to give Lavelle a bit of a credit. Her saying get the tab, and that then feeding into the, her treatment at the hands of Morgaine, and then the paying of the tab, and the tab being alive. So that whole pub scene, even though I'm annoyed that Lavelle died and slightly sad, and I didn't like her being turned into Hoover fodder. Right.
My third choice of something I love about Battlefield is its use of Arthurian mythology, which I think it's quite surprising that Doctor Who had been going, 26 years at this point, and hadn't really explored that at all, considering it's such a key part of British mythology. And I guess some people would argue that this is not the best vehicle for it, but I really like how it's worked in. I love the use of characters, obviously Mordred and Morgaine, both excellently played. I really like the idea that the Doctor might be Merlin in some alternate future past. I like when Doctor Who just sort of hints at things or suggests things, but we never hear from it again. Like, it's just this might be a thing. So feel free to use your imagination. I think that always works really well. And I also like it when the show does sort of play with ideas of mythology and folklore and works them into a sci-fi setting. Yeah, it's great. And obviously Ace emerging from the lake holding a sword. I think that's an iconic Doctor Who moment, right? And a lovely nod to Arthurian myth. And we also get little snatches of Mallory and Tennyson, as previously mentioned, which I love.
Thanks, John. Good point. Well, we didn't choose the same thing, but that's okay. So, I was going to stay up and watch the next episode, but I think this is going to be the lone, cosplayed episode of Happy Times and Places. I hope the place that you are and the times that you are having are happy, and I'm just off to pay the tab. See you next time. Stay safe. Thank you for listening to Happy Times and Places with me, Toby Hadoke, and my special guest, Jon Tuner. I'd very much like to thank the latest batch of people to have signed up to my Patreon page at patreon.com/Toby Hadoke, and they are Chris Dunford-Kelk, Len Stewart, Ken Patterson, Paul Cook, Michael Williams, Paul J. Guest, Adam Westwood, Luke Adkins, Will Brooks, Nick Mellish, and Adam Stone. The music for this podcast is specially composed by Dave Gates, and the podcast artwork is by Dylan Patterson. If you enjoy these podcasts, I'd be very grateful if you could rate and review them wherever you consume them, and don't forget to sign up to my mailing list on my website, www.tobyhadoke.com. Oh, and to coin a phrase, don't forget to subscribe to the official Toby Hadoke YouTube channel.